All right, it is 9 o'clock on this Friday night. That means it's time for the Live Zone Prime Time. I'm producer Chris. That's Tony P. And as you can see from the graphics behind us, we switched things up a little bit. We're going with the snow look. It hasn't started falling outside yet, but it is snowing here in the streaming pod right now.
I wish you could just stay like this, like holographic, no worries, no cold.
What Tony, exactly. What Tony's saying is that he likes the snow when he's warm on the inside. Exactly. He just gets to look at it through a window. A lot of people will be looking at the snow through their windows this weekend. It is the big story that we are talking about tonight, so we're going to dive right in because first at 9, states of emergency in effect as the DMV gets ready for a winter wallop. As you can imagine, crews from Maryland State Highway Administration, VDOT, and DDOT all on standby to pre-treat those roads, then clear them when the snow starts to fall. At the same time, power crews in the DMV calling the storm an all-hands-on-deck situation. They're gearing up to move out as soon as the snow starts to fall. Metro crews also ready to fight snow and ice to keep buses and rails running. Officials say service will be dependent on conditions. Metro Brass says that temporary suspensions are possible, but WMATA will prioritize serving areas with critical staff like hospitals. Also, the airports nationwide bracing for impact. There have already been more than 5,000 flight cancellations nationwide. At Reagan National, there have already been more than 70 delays, 14 cancellations today alone, and at least 130 flights already canceled for tomorrow and Sunday. So we want to get right into the nitty gritty, and to do that, we need our friend Fox 5 meteorologist Mike Thomas making another Live Zone appearance for us. Mike, we didn't bother you all week. We literally tried to leave you alone so that we could have you, especially for tonight.
For my favorite Friday night, guys.
Oh, listen,
I love it.
If the news wasn't so bad, I'm very happy right now.
Okay, he's got a bone to pick with you, but we know
I blame him.
you mean business.
I blame him.
We know you mean business when at 9 o'clock on a Friday night you are still wearing a shirt and tie.
Still wearing a tie, right?
Yes.
Usually I'm over here in my sweats. And
that's right.
That's how I prefer the be.
More like me,
a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable. And, I'll be trading my sweats on Sunday for a suit and tie here because we're getting continuing coverage on Friday Friday. It is Friday. On Sunday here at Fox 5.
Starting at 6 a.m.
And going all the way to the midnight hour.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
That's what we do here, Tony P.
We're making you do.
Am I coming in,
6
too?
a.m. till midnight. You're doing all of it, Tony, just you.
Can I just come in the nice rain jacket or the snow jacket and roll around in the snow?
It's all Fox 5. You can roll wear your pajamas for all weekend.
Beautiful. Oh, my God.
So
I'll be up.
This one's going to be a little bit of a chaotic storm. There was a lot of chit-chat earlier in the week. Some monster totals were out on the models that were circulating social media, like 2 feet. My iPhone, I hate the iPhone weather app for this reason. Mine still says, 18 to 24 inches, and that's just we're trying to figure out what model they pull that from, because that's just not going to happen at this stage. Could it happen somewhere? Absolutely, but probably up in Pennsylvania, New York, where this will be more of a all snow event.
Right.
Here in DC, we're going to get a good wallop. It's still going to be a really good snow in the morning, and then it's going to transition over, and timing that transition over from snow to sleet and freezing rain, that's the most difficult challenge we have here in the next 24 hours. So those are the headlines. Snow does begin very late on Saturday night. I think sometime between 8 p.m. and midnight for the first flakes. But as far as when does it start getting bad, when's it heavy snow, at least in DC proper, probably around or after the midnight hour. I think between midnight and 2 a.m. In the DC area for those first accumulations popping up. One thing, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, I don't want to ignore, is just how brutally cold it will be tomorrow ahead of this storm. Mentioned before, heaviest snowfall on Sunday morning there. Then we watch that transition zone to sleet and ice mixing in as we get into Sunday afternoon. And then you think tomorrow's going to be cold? Wait until next week.
Oh, no.
The backside of this storm is awful. One of the strongest cold air outbreaks we've had in 30, 40 years here in Washington. We're talking extreme cold. And you can see the cold moving in tonight. DC's dropped, I think, 10 degrees in the last 2 or 3 hours. We're down to 31 now. Cumberland's down to 15. Hagerstown's joined the teens party up there at 17 degrees. And we'll be there, too. I think we're lower teens by the time you wake up tomorrow. And look at the air north and west. Chicago's 9 degrees below zero. Detroit 2 degrees below zero. And we're not going to get there air temperature-wise, but it will feel like it. by the time we get to tomorrow morning. Sub-zero wind chills, temperature single digits and lower teens. Tomorrow is mostly a dry day, but it is not a nice day because of just how cold the temperatures are. We're windy in the morning, we're breezy in the afternoon, highs tomorrow afternoon only in the teens and 20s. So, that'll give you an idea of what the ground's going to be doing. It'll super chill the ground. And when we start snowing, every flake that falls will stick. A lot of times we lose some accumulation to the fact that once it starts snowing, the ground's kind of not cold enough and we melt a little bit before it starts to stick. Yet not this time. The ground will be ready for every single flake to stick. And when you have a situation like that, well, then those roadways get slick rather quick. And we're going to, and Chris and Tony are going to tell you about the pre-treatments and the chemicals and all that they've been putting on the roads.
The beet juice. I love talking about the beet juice.
Beet juice.
They work, but they're not going to work nearly as well when temperatures are in the teens and low 20s as they do when they're closer to 32 degrees. So it does have some impact, but it's not nearly as good of impact as when temperatures are close to the freezing mark. There's your storm system tonight, and Tony likes it when I do the telestrator. You got
Yes,
two
I
pieces,
do.
Northern piece, southern piece, and they are joining forces there out to the west.
Oh, great.
And those two are going to combine and form a storm system that works its way eastward here over the next 24 to 48 hours. So that's my best John Madden impression.
Right.
As this
Boom.
storm, right? Boom. There you go.
Turducken is coming over here. I have a few turduckens
Let me tell you,
afterwards.
best quarterback ever, Brett Favre. But we'll
Oh God.
That's
gunslinger?
That's what John Madden
That's right.
uses.
I know.
All right.
I'm playing along.
Future cast here as we work our way through the daytime hours tomorrow. Noon hours looking good, and then there's your 9 o'clock hour. And this snow here in D.C., pretty light on the model, so I think we're going to lose some of that to what we call virga, meaning the air is so dry, you got to precipitate into it for a little bit in order to moisten it up. Excuse the use of that word, but that is the best way I can say it. You got to moisten up the atmosphere a little bit so that the flakes can actually reach the ground. Once they do start reaching the ground, they will stick. Now, if you're watching tonight, south and west of town, it is probably starting to hit the ground, and it will get covered pretty quick even down that way. Overnight hours is when it's at its worst. Saturday night's usually a party night. Make sure where you're partying, make sure you are going to be there for the long duration because it will be snowing all night long and heaviest likely around or just after sunrise here. And the key we're going to be having to watch over the next 24 hours in the weather department is that line right there. Where do we go from snow to sleet and eventually freezing rain? Because the slower, if that line is an hour or two slower, you're going to get 2 or 3 more inches of snow where you live. If it's an hour or two faster, you'll get 2 or 3 less inches of snow where you live. So timing of that line is key. It's been jumping around a lot, and I'll show you some of the totals here in just a moment for how different that is. DC area and north, kind of this zone up here, I favor a lot of sleet, including us here in Washington. I've been looking at some of the temperature profiles. We'll probably do some freezing rain on the back end of this, but most of it suggests that the atmospheric column is going to be cold enough that it's more sleet pellets as opposed to freezing rain in that sector. Not a bad thing. Freezing rain sucks. This is online only, right?
Yes, you can.
Freezing rain sucks. Nobody likes it.
It does.
It's icy. It's no fun. Now, if you're farther down to the south and to the east, that's where you have to watch out for bigger freezing rain concerns. 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch, which, off the top of your head probably doesn't sound like that much, but, that's pretty much what they skate on at the NHL. So it's slippery, and it could definitely cause some problems out there, and lots of concerns about power outages and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to be, and I'm kind of the minority here. It's not going to be, there will be some. It shouldn't be as bad as, say, a ice storm scenario where you're kicking up a lot of wind with it, because it's usually, you weigh down the branches with some ice, and then the wind blows it around, and they're really weak, and you snap the branches. We don't have a big wind component with this storm. Even if this was all snow, this would not be a blizzard, because the winds don't get that strong with it, and that's the most important factor in a blizzard. So this is just a winter storm coming through. We get it out of here Saturday night and the Sunday, and then the big question is how much snow are we dealing with? And it all has to do with that rain-snow line. That model I just showed you, it's called the graph. We call it Futurecast here. Gives a pretty widespread 6 to 10 inches of snow, like region-wide. I would be just fine with that if we got that. No complaints at 7.5 inches of snow, and then you put on some sleet and some ice on top of it. Other models are different. This is the European. Everybody's heard of it. It's a popular model. It's got about 10 inches of snow here, DC.
Oof.
And it looks a little closer to our map here at Fox 5 with more north and west, less south and east. And that tends to be how it goes with these types of transitional snows because it happens first to the south, last to the north. You get a little bit more up to the north. So I would kind of lean a little bit closer to this model versus that graph I just showed you a moment ago. If you love snow, the one that hangs on the snow the longest here in DC is our good old American model. Everyone loves that American model. And that one does still give a foot to DC. It's trying to put down 2 feet north and west. Snow lovers, I'm with you. I'm one of you. I doubt it, but yeah, I'll keep the faith with you if you want me to keep the faith. But
wow.
Certainly those numbers north and west, like 23.4 in Martinsburg, that's probably way too high.
That seems kind of nuts.
It seems kind of nuts. It has happened, but it seems kind of nuts. But I don't necessarily believe that. Now, I do have higher amounts up there on our map for you. We tweaked these a little bit. You know, we had 8 to 12. We dropped it a bit. We kind of widened our range to speak for the uncertainty. So
right,
now we're 6 to 12. We like to try and nail it for you.
It's a solid range.
Yeah, 10 to 18 up towards that jackpot zone up in the panhandles, where cold air just tends to be a little bit more stubborn getting out.
Got it.
So that should leave it as snow a little longer up that way, and we think they'll have some decent totals. But I think the jackpot zone with this somewhere up in the Pennsylvania, New York, New England area.
Of course, New England's going to be getting some.
Of course, New England. You can't go through a winter without
us.
Right? That's you all. That's your problem.
We are the gatekeepers of that.
I just wanted to put in perspective because, obviously social media is social media. People saw 2 feet of snow possible on their iPhones, and on Tuesday, a lot of the weather model guidance was there. And now they're super disappointed that it's come down to maybe just like a measly 6, 7, or 8 inches of snow. We have only done that a handful of times in the last decade. Like 4 times in the last decade have we done over half a foot of snow. There they are right there. This was, I don't think, ever really going to be the blizzard of 2016 here in D.C. Completely different dynamics for it. So 17.8 inches in Washington. I think it's out of reach. I don't think we're going to break that one. I do think it could end up being like a top 2, 3 snowfall in D.C. If we're lucky enough and we're able to delay that sleet line here. So to put it all in perspective, it's still a really good snow before we transition over. Now, I wanted to show you this because we're cold the whole time. This is when it's snowing, or I'm sorry, this is when it's sleeting and freezing, raining, and it's 24 degrees outside. Like that's how strong the jet is, 5,000 to 7,000 feet in the air. That's pumping in the warm air. So it's not ever going to mix down to the surface. We'll stay below freezing the whole time, but it gets just enough warm air in place above our heads that it does that transition zone over to sleet and freezing rain. This is what I want to show you that it's not being talked about as much as it should be right now, but look at the cold that comes in after this storm. And this is what's going to delay things like schools opening and all that stuff. Monday afternoon, you're digging out, it's 22 degrees. That's cold, but look what's looming to the west. Chicago's -8, Indianapolis -7, and then Tuesday morning, hello, Sally. I don't know if that's a catchphrase or not, but it is now. That would be a record-breaking cold. Now, it's probably a little on the strong side, but we think we could be 3, 4, 5 degrees in the morning, and that would break a record that stood for almost 100 years.
What?
So this is quite the cold air coming down, and, doesn't matter how much snow you get at that point, it's going to freeze solid, and you're shoveling your sidewalks. Everything's going to be a mess. And just to warn you, pretty much did I have the 7-day in here? Yeah, I do. All of next week is brutally cold. Was running some of the numbers. It could be the longest streak that we don't get above freezing. Like, we're going to have 7 to 10 days of not breaking freezing here in D.C., which is extraordinarily rare. We have done it a handful of times in the last century here in Washington. Like, it's not something D.C. does, especially not in the last time we got close to this many days in a row was 2004. Been a hot minute. And I think it's going to be the longest since at least 1989. Now,
what?
Yeah, it's not something we do to December 1989. I think they did 10 days in a row of not above freezing here in Washington. So that'll be kind of, I don't want to say we're aiming for it because we want it to happen, but that's kind of the benchmark that we're looking at there. But
people don't like you right now, Mike Thomas, and I know you've got to run, but here's my question, and I know
people have never liked
Hey,
this.
I've always stuck up for you.
I know this is going to be a hard.
Now I'm a little mad. Our French is being tested.
To answer, but if there was an ideal time to get out there and try to get everything off your car, off your sidewalks, before that bitter cold comes in and freezes and it's solid ice, when do you think that would be?
Windshield wipers up. First off,
yes.
Do it on Sunday morning while it's snowing.
Okay.
So it's still going to be snowing, I know, but get it as best clear as you can. Even though every time you shovel, it's just going to go. But get it as low as you can. But this is where I debate, because I'm like, do I recommend that? Because it's a little easier to clean off ice if
there's a layer of snow.
So leave a little layer of snow, because then it's easier to clear off of things like sidewalks and the like. But make sure those windshield wipers are up, or they can be frozen solid to your windshield all week.
No question.
Now, one thing before I got to ask you this. So, like, in terms of this timeline, when do you think people will be able to get out on the roads safely after the storm is over, with the cold and the ice? Like, is there any time where it will be truly safe, or people have to get negotiators for a while?
Crews seem well prepared, and they seem like they're doing at least the major roadways. We'll have sunshine coming back out Monday afternoon that will help the chemicals and help the roads. Temperatures do get into the middle 20s.
Yeah.
So Monday afternoon, while the sun is up, I think at least the majors will be okay. But as far as your side roads and side streets, it's all going to depend on when they get. And I know we've had officials saying, well, we might not make it there for a few days, given the severity of the storm. It will likely be several days.
Wow.
And I think this is, even though totals have come down from those 1 to 2 feet numbers, I still think this is a multi-day closer for many school systems.
Schools,
and
my next question.
No question. And we know that there
kids will
have
be
already been some school closings. Some schools already closed because they had other things going on. Of course, we are going to have complete coverage, not only tonight at 10 o'clock. Mike Thomas will be back with that. We will have coverage tomorrow, counting down, and then our special snow coverage begins at 6 a.m. on Sunday.
God bless
In
us.
the meantime, though, people stocking up with the snow on the way. A lot of people spent the day, take a look at that, literally waiting in line for supplies. This specifically, groceries. This is the Trader Joe's on 14th Street Northwest in Washington, D.C. You see those lines outside. Just imagine what it looked like inside once the store opened. From bread to bottled water, shoppers rushed out for those last-minute must-haves. Tony P still needs to do it, not to put him on blast.
Hey, it's already been. Wait a minute. It's already been delivered. Hold on.
Okay, well, so he's relying on other people, but
hey, listen,
they might not have everything he needs.
I tip very well.
Other videos from social media show the empty shelves, aftermath of the last-minute rush. Experts say to get best prepared now and make sure you've got drinking water, non-perishable food, blankets, sleeping bags in case you lose power. Mike, hoping that's not going to be the case. However, for more on what's heading our way and ways to get ready for whatever old man winter brings, National Weather Service meteorologist Connor. Connor, make sure I want to say your name correctly, your last name correctly. Can you say it for me?
Yeah, Belak.
Belak joins us now live. Connor, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So first and foremost, what is your message to people about this storm who are tuning in right now?
Yeah, so in terms of, regardless of how much snow actually falls and or sleet or freezing rain, it's going to be impactful. Tomorrow morning is the best time to, do any preparations you need to. By the time the snow and, ice and everything starts tomorrow evening, conditions are going to go downhill pretty quickly. Roads are likely going to become covered given how cold it is pretty quickly, and it's only going to deteriorate as the rates pick up overnight through the day and Sunday morning, and then through the daylight hours as we gradually transition over to sleet and freezing rain. So the main thing is just being prepared ahead of the time, and don't travel during the day Sunday unless you necessarily have to. Give the road crews, their room to clear everything and do their jobs that they do pretty well. So just making sure that you're off the roads, let them do their thing, and ultimately prepared for yourself and your family, but only pets and livestock as well, as it is going to get dangerously cold as we head into next week.
I've always been really curious about how these models, the European model, the American model, have like this kind of range up to 2 feet of snow, right? What are some of the models that you're looking at that are usually the most accurate, and like how are those actually calculated? Just to kind of ask a dumb question, how are they actually calculated? How does a system or a model know how many inches of snow are going to be dropped on? Like, what are the components that are taken into consideration?
Yeah, so there's hundreds of models out there, ran by various agencies across the world, including the National Weather Service. And all the models are kind of put together and conglomerated into an ensemble. And some models have individual ensembles that run multiple times a day. But ultimately, they all start with the initial conditions of the atmosphere. They get the data from various surface observations of the airports, weather balloons, and all kinds of other data. And then they use that data of what's going on now to kind of do a forward future cast of how they think everything is going to change based on the current data. There's all kind of additional information going into the weather models for this storm in particular. The NOAA hurricane hunters are doing special reconnaissance flights across the Gulf and across portions of the Pacific Ocean as well, which is ultimately adding into more data to the models, hopefully try to get a better understanding of how much warm air is going to come north with this system. And how much warm air comes north is ultimately going to determine how quickly we change over from snow to sleet, and ultimately if we end up with 6 inches of snow versus 12 inches of snow, we're so happy.
When think about the overall conditions of this, like with this sleet / freezing rain to snow conversion, what would be, in terms of like your outlook, what would be maybe the safest time potentially post snow for people to get out to maybe start shoveling or to drive to to work, or if they're essential employee, things of that nature? Will there be any safer times in that Sunday to Monday time frame, or will it be mostly you got to wait a few days for things to really get better?
The heaviest rates are likely going to be during the morning hours Monday, and we're probably going to be snowing on the order of an inch, if not 2 inches an hour, for a few hours Sunday morning before we transition over to sleet. The northwest suburbs likely stay snow the longest, so conditions are going to be bad area-wide, but where it's still snowing 1 to 2 inches an hour for several hours in a row, they're likely going to be worse up there. Once you start getting the sleet to mix in, sleet is not exactly easy to clean off any surface. It has a higher density and can really stick together and become frozen solid pretty quickly. So regardless of if it's snow and or sleet, and then if you get the crust of freezing rain on top, ultimately it's just going to be an ice block by the time you get the Monday morning. So being able to clear the snow probably in smaller batches, or the ice in smaller batches, is better than clearing it all at once. But it is going to take some time for the road crews to be able to get to all the neighborhood side streets and what have you. I'm sure their focus is going to be on the main thoroughfares before gradually expanding to the other neighborhoods and such.
So Connor, I was on the the National Weather Service Baltimore, Washington Twitter page earlier today, and you guys have been putting out some winter storm planning tips and timelines. Can you talk to us and our viewers a little bit about what they should be doing now to be ready for this storm?
Yeah, so in terms of preparation, now is the time, really through tomorrow afternoon before the precipitation starts. That's the time to make sure everything is ready. Having your cars, making sure there's gas, making sure that your smoke detectors are ready, all that kind of stuff, a few days out. The day before, that's when you need to be able to, thinking about what do I need to do to make sure myself and my family is safe. Do I need to adjust plans? Do I need to, maybe, bring in some extra wood to put on the stove, that kind of thing. I need to make any adjustments for pets, livestock, that kind of stuff. And then during the storm, it's really important that you check on, neighbors, family, anybody that may be in the vulnerable communities. But if you are using any kind of heat sources, making sure that they are properly ventilated, and not any kind of hazards to you or your family. And then take it easy while shoveling. It is likely going to be a decent amount of snow to remove all at once. So take a break if you need to. It's going to be a heavy thing. It is a pretty heavy physical activity. So if you need to take a break while moving the snow, by all means do so.
All right, Connor Balak from the National Weather Service, Baltimore, Washington. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime.
Thank you.
All right, so we did get a little bit of breaking news while we were having that conversation. The Office of Personnel Management, Washington, D.C. area, Monday, January 6, 2026, status, office closure. Federal offices in the Washington, D.C. area will be closed on Monday. We already know that a lot of schools have pulled the trigger. They are planning to be closed. Some of them were already closed. Teachers were supposed to be in the building, but I imagine that will change as well. Of course, stay with Fox 5 for all of the latest weather information all weekend long.
This usually, I'll say it again, bringing back my Boston, New England experience, this rarely happens where either federal buildings are closed a few days in advance or any schools are closed on a Friday before a Monday storm. Usually we kind of waited out to see if it actually happened. But now just this is unbelievable. I mean, I can imagine probably they may even start closing Tuesday, Wednesday on Sunday or Monday.
Yeah, I wouldn't
depending
be
on
surprised.
how things work out around
Once we
here.
see how much of that ice starts to move in, I would not be surprised at all. Of course, our weather coverage isn't over for the evening, but we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Tony P is going to talk about some of the other stories he's been keeping an eye on this Friday.
Non-precipitation stuff.
Thank God it's Friday. This TGIF. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to leave you with a live picture from our Fox 5 Skycam camera at the wharf, taking a look at Reagan National Airport. If you are planning on going anywhere, check ahead of time. A lot of flight cancellations and delays. We'll be right back.
Go to Florida. I should have went to Florida this weekend.
My in-laws are in town. They came up from Florida.
Oh, that's even worse. All right, so we are back here on the live Zone Prime Time here on Fox 5, and I have to tell you, over the break, I've been looking at flights to the great Sunshine State in Florida. Look at this one, folks.
Tony's
okay?
inspired by this shot of Reagan National Airport.
I'm looking at not points, I'm looking at cash. Okay, so there's a flight out of DCA tomorrow morning. If you like Delta Airlines, 6:15 p.m. Get you in at 12:30 into Fort Lauderdale for $270. Basic, not too bad.
It's flying out at 6:15 p.m. is what you're saying?
Yeah, so right before the snow starts.
Well,
okay.
I mean,
now if you fly
I were
out,
a betting man, Tony P.
If I were a betting man, if you want to get out early tomorrow, 9:54, you got to stop in Detroit. Then you get to Fort Lauderdale. Let's try $1,100 basically for that one. All right, and it doesn't get any better on JetBlue, my friends. $700 to $837 for a basic seat, my friends. So. Tony P is not your travel agent this weekend because I will not be able to afford that. So,
if you
folks,
are planning on getting out of town this weekend, you can scan that QR code and tell us where you are
headed. And make me feel jealous.
To avoid the snow. Let us know how you're planning on spending this snowy weekend. Scan the QR code, jump in the Zoom room. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. In the meantime, we do want to move on with one of the other big stories that we have been following all week long. This is the Deadly Desire Brendan Banfield. I'm not sure what just happened there. Anyway, that was weird. All these tech glitches that I love so much.
I heard
Today
the trial's ready. You know?
Mark the end of the second week of the Brendan Banfield murder trial over in Fairfax County, day 8 of the trial. And we learned today that Brendan is expected to testify in his own defense. That's likely going to happen next week, but we don't know when next week because we do not know when court will resume because of the weather. Now, Brendan is accused of working with his au pair to murder his wife, Christine, and a man they allegedly lured to the house to frame for the crime. Brendan Banfield, like I said, expected to be the last witness. The witness testimony started with his au pair taking the stand. That was last week. The trial expected to resume, like I said, early next week, depending on the weather, Tony P.
I mean, that is a very rare occasion for a defendant to get on the stand and testify. Usually lawyers will say do not do that because you can incriminate yourself on cross-examination, which is always an issue because if they catch you in one contradiction, Chris,
that's right,
it could sink the whole case. Now, this tells me, I'm not a legal analyst or a lawyer, but this tells me they don't feel that they have enough compelling evidence yet for an acquittal. So they're hoping that maybe some testimony, whether it be emotional or really doing more storytelling about his life, or maybe the relationship with his wife or the au pair, may be able to give the case a more human side to potentially help with an acquittal, because this does not make sense. If you have the evidence that you need for acquittal, you don't put your client on the stand usually. And I have a lot of friends in law, especially celebrity law, that tell me do not put yourself on the stand in any case.
Yeah.
Now, there could be a client wanting to testify too, so again, we don't know the behind the scenes, but this is a very rare move.
Vernon Miles has been following this case for us right here in studio. We have a full podcast dedicated called Deadly Desire. You can look it up on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page, Spotify, and beyond. Bob Barnard has been in court. Check out those conversations that we have had for more details. I will say the one thing that they had said, it seems like they're trying to make the he said, she said case.
Right.
Defense arguing against the prosecution witness, the au pair, put Brendan on the stand and basically argue and create the reasonable doubt that could end up getting him acquitted. In the meantime, we want to move on. We want to talk about what Tony P has been watching on this Friday.
Yes. One thing we do know about this case is that we don't know the outcome, but there's going to be a Netflix documentary or something like that at some point about this case, because they're making a ton of them about true crime. In Minnesota today, protests against ICE escalated again, with organizers putting together an economic blackout today across Minneapolis and St. Paul. Hundreds of small businesses in downtown and around Minnesota shut down today, including those along Lake Street, closed for the entire day, urging people to skip work, school, and shopping to protest recent ICE enforcement actions. The demonstrations were driven by outrage over several incidents. Of course, the fatal shooting of U.S. citizen Renee Good by an ICE officer, and the recent detention of a 5-year-old child and his father just this week. Large rallies formed downtown, and protests extended to Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, where a sit-in aimed at deportation flights protests led to the arrest of about 100 clergy members. The local unrest mirrors the broader national divide that we're seeing about this issue in Minneapolis. New polling shows ICE remains deeply unpopular as an agency, with 63% disapproving of its job performance and 36% approving. And now 61% say as well that ICE has gone too far in their actions. Disapproval was strongest among Democrats, independents, and younger voters, though even nearly 1 in 5 Republicans said the agency has overreacted and overreached. At the same time, opinions on border enforcement more broadly were far more evenly split, highlighting how divided voters are between enforcement goals and the actual tactics being carried out. Now, to a major international crime story tonight, former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding has been arrested in Mexico and extradited to the United States, ending more than a decade of time as a fugitive. Wedding competed for Canada in the 2002 Winter Olympics and later became one of the FBI's top 10 most wanted. Authorities allege he ran a massive drug trafficking operation that moved roughly 60 metric tons of cocaine a year from Latin America through Mexico into the U.S. and Canada, generating more than $1 billion in illicit profits. Prosecutors say he worked under the protections of the Sinaloa cartel and ordered multiple killings, including that murder of a federal witness in Colombia in 2025. A $15 million reward had been offered for information leading to his capture, and Wedding is expected to appear in federal court in California next week. Here in Washington, the March for Life returned as one of the largest annual anti-abortion gatherings. Events began at the National Mall before marching towards the U.S. Supreme Court. This year, the White House took a direct role, with Vice President J.D. Vance addressing the crowd in person, and official remarks from both him and President Trump were released on the same day. Organizers framed the march as a show of strength as abortion policy battles continue to play out in state legislatures and courts in the post-Roe v. Wade landscape. Also in health news, comments from the chair of the Federal Vaccine Advisory Committee are drawing sharp concern. Dr. Kirk Milhan publicly suggested that vaccines, including polio and measles, could be treated as optional, and hinted that the approach could be expanded as time goes on. Public health experts warned that even though discussing optional status for core childhood vaccines can quickly lower vaccination rates, well, with measles often the first disease to surge when community immunity drops. Milhon became chair in December, and his remarks are being closely watched as broader debates continue over vaccine policy. In the tech world, TikTok's long-running U.S. ownership saga has finally, about a year over now, has reached its endpoint. The deal officially closed on January 22nd, restructuring TikTok's American operations into a new entity designed to keep majority control out of Chinese hands. Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX each hold 15% stakes, while ByteDance retains a 20% minority stake. The agreement includes strict data security measures with U.S. user data stored in Oracle's cloud and oversight controlled by U.S. stakeholders. TikTok has roughly 200 million users right now, and the deal allows the app to continue operating while addressing those national security concerns. On Wall Street next week, my friends, is a big one beyond just that cold we're going to get. A heavy slate of earnings is coming from major companies, including Boeing, UPS, Texas Instruments, United Health, Kimberly-Clark, Union Pacific, Northrop Grumman, Synchrony, American Airlines, JetBlue, and Seagate. Investors will be watching not just earnings results, but especially forward guidance from companies, as well as inflation numbers and potential interest rate shifts. This could all reshape expectations for growth, consumer demand, and that interest rate policy here in 2026. In the world of weight loss drugs, Novo's Nordisk's Wegovy pill, say that a few times out loud, is showing strong early traction. The oral GLP-1 logged 18,410 U.S. prescriptions in its first full week, after posting 3,000 in its first 4 days since its January 5th launch. Analysts say the numbers give Novo an early edge in the race for pill-based treatments, while Eli Lilly's competing drug, orforglipron, there we go, remains under FDA review with a decision expected by April. In the world of entertainment, the DJ from Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz's wedding is now addressing the long-rumored first dance controversy. Been waiting for this one. According to the DJ, Mark Anthony took the microphone during the reception and invited Victoria Beckham onto the dance floor, shifting attention away from what guests expected to be Brooklyn and Nicola's moment. The DJ said the mood in the room changed immediately, and reports say Nicola became upset and left the floor in tears. This incident, of course, has been cited for years as a flashpoint in the ongoing Beckham wedding family drama. Finishing up with some celebrity news here, some more health news. Bethany Frankel revealed that she has been diagnosed with stage 2 chronic kidney disease, saying the condition was discovered through routine blood work and confirmed by specialists. And now we're combining positive news with a business headline. Delta Airlines announced $1.3 billion in profit-sharing payments to all employees today, which the company says averages out to roughly 4 weeks of extra pay per eligible worker tied directly to company profits. Chris, I'm a big proponent of tax policy that incentivizes this more, because we need to have more profit sharing, higher wages, and better stock vesting, meaning these employees can own more stock because they work so hard. And you know what? You got to have more of what you make.
So do I, but you don't see me getting. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, listen,
maybe I need to go.
I mean, Delta's a great airline. That's why I have it #1 on my
Tony
app
P,
here.
that's the second time you've mentioned Delta
I'm
today,
not.
which begs the question.
I am not sponsored by them. Okay, I'm not sponsored.
It's my journalistic responsibility to ask.
Can I ask myself that question?
Two quick things. One, I'm kind of shocked, and no shade here because I had one myself, but slightly shocked that Brooklyn Beckham and his wife had a DJ at their wedding and not a live band. Maybe they had both.
You can have both.
No. And two, you rattled off the names of a couple of weight loss drugs. And
yes.
I'm sorry to say, and I'm
suck.
sure I'm
I
not
suck at
alone
that.
in this. No. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. But they're all, the average person, the lay person out there, they're all just Ozempic.
That's so true.
You know, I think this is going to become like the Xerox and the
Kleenex. Yep. That's
just,
so true.
When you talk about these GLP-1s, it's just you're going to say Ozempic.
And that's the thing. I mean,
and I know they're pushing hard their own ones, and there are all these different. Anyway, let's take a live look back out at Reagan National. We are going to talk a little more weather on the other side of the break, but we're going to have a little fun. I know it's a serious situation, but people are finding ways to have some fun with it. Coming up on the other side of the break, we are talking snowball fights, and we're talking having some drinks. Terry from Baby Cat Brewery going to join us live. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Friday night. Look, we know this storm is obviously a serious situation, the snow on the way, but it can be fun too, Tony P, and that's what we're going to talk about here in the last 20 minutes, because a winter tradition returns this weekend. We're talking about a snowball fight. This year's theme, one snowball after another, seemingly inspired by the Oscar-nominated Leonardo DiCaprio movie, One Battle After Another.
I didn't even think of that.
The fight is set for Sunday at 11 a.m. at 12th Street Northwest along the National Mall. This year's battle marks a decade to the day since the famous Snow Wars battle in DuPont Circle Park that I believe Bob Barnard ended up with a face full of snow.
I think he did. I remember watching that.
It'll also be the 20th event since the snowball movement began back in 2010. Organizers encouraging everyone to stay safe, to wear plenty of layers, to wear goggles, and to not throw ice. Most importantly, don't throw ice, Tony.
Yes, I mean, I'll tell you,
Any plans on being out there?
I'm thinking about it. I'll tell you, this is
well,
so.
if I were
this
you,
is
I
so
would go
much fun.
incognito because
have my glasses
having
on.
that famous face.
Oh God,
people are
no.
gonna be inclined.
Well, I'll
to
tell
want
you,
to give a bam right in the kisser.
Especially my haters, man.
Bam, right in the kisser.
They would love to see my face get a little messed up, or other four-letter words. But I'll tell you this, I think this is a great tradition. It's right in the center of town. People love this. It's going to get a ton of traction on social media.
No question. We'll probably be out there live too. So if you don't plan on being out there, you can probably watch all of the shenanigans go down.
Now, what should I wear
right
for like
here
my
on Fox
incognito?
Local. Dress warm because it's going to be cold as hell.
Sunglasses?
And two, maybe just something that
like maybe a motorcycle.
Listen, this is your moneymaker, my friend. This
my
is your
father
moneymaker.
always told
throw
me,
a motorcycle helmet on.
My father always told me, son, you got a face for radio, kid.
Cruel. All right, if you
very.
are snowbound and stir crazy, there are some places staying open to accommodate you. And if you are a fan of the booze, maybe watching some sports, one of them, Baby Cat Brewery, and founder Terry Redmond joins us now live from their Kensington location. Terry, when I contacted you earlier today, you told me two things. One, you would be drinking, and two, you are celebrating the Grateful Dead tonight there.
Nice.
I'm a little jealous.
We're doing a Grateful Dead night tonight, so you're probably going to hear some background noise. I've been, kind of drinking for the last few hours, so I'm ready.
You're ready. You're ready. Let's do it. All right. Talk to us a little bit about how people can spend a snow day at Baby Cat Brewery.
So this is kind of a cool story. So we met 2 days ago. We do like a weekly meeting. We have two locations, Kensington and Bethesda, and we're like, should we open for this snow? And so we started polling, kind of customers, and everyone is like, yes, we want to drink when it's bombing snow. And we all felt the same way. Like, how awesome is it, like, to walk to a bar that's open when it's just like getting pounded with snow and have some drinks and just have a blast. So we were like, yes, let's definitely open. And a little side note, like my wife's from Michigan, and she's like, let's cross country ski up to Baby Cat on Sunday, and we'll just open the bar and drink. I was like, I love that idea. So I've been on Marketplace for the last 2 days. I found 2 sets of cross country skis for her and I. So we're gonna come up, whether we can get staff in here or not in Kensington. We're gonna cross country ski up here on Sunday and open the bar, and who's ever up for it, we will be open.
Will people
100%?
Will customers be able to actually partake in this cross country skiing, or is that not an option?
I don't care. They can take our skis.
However, they can safely get there and back, right?
It'll be a fun day. So Bethesda will be a little different because Bethesda has all those apartments, and we have one of our top bartenders, Sarah, lives in the building that we're in. So she's like, we will be crazy. She's like, I'll do it myself. I don't care. Like, let's open and let's have a blast. And so
you have an awesome team.
That's kind of the attitude we're taking.
Yeah, Tony's right. You guys do have an awesome team. Full disclosure, and Terry, we've talked about this before. The Kensington location where you're at is one of my go-to bars because I live right around the corner, right across the train tracks. So, it's nice to have the option of just being
the other side of the train tracks.
The other side of the tracks, as they say. That's right. So have you guys had many snow days? Well, first of all, talk to us a little bit about Baby Cat. For those who don't know, where you're located, how you guys got started, and what your kind of signature drinks are.
Cool story. So Sam Musmelli is my partner, and this was his original vision. I was just kind of like, I was the money man, I guess is the best way to put it. But so he had a vision to build a brewery, and he had become a home brewer, and him and his wife had adopted this cat. Little sidebar, the story of the cat, had adopted this cat, Alice. The cat never grew. It was a kitten that never grew, so they started calling it baby cat. And when he was home brewing, the cat would come into the kitchen for his home brews, and they started calling the cat baby cat because it never grew. So it became Baby Cat's Brewery. So when we moved forward with opening a brewery, my wife and I we live in Kensington. So it was our idea, like Kensington needed a brewery. It needed a little community spot to get together. So when it was time to kind of pull the trigger on it, it was kind of Sam's concept with the location in Kensington. So we opened this little like bar with no experience at all, or a little brewery. And it's been an incredible little, like, great little community spot. Everyone like has a good time. We have a big outdoor space. We have live music, most of the summer. And subsequently, some folks in Bethesda kept coming to our brewery, and they were like, you know what, this spot would be great in Bethesda. And so we had really no intention of opening a second brewery, but through the course of time and just people like, yeah, this would be great here. We opened a second location, very similar vibe, very community oriented. We brew down there. It's just, I don't know, both spots are really cool. Like you walk in and everyone has a smile on their face. Everyone's laughing. Everyone's having a good time. And that's kind of that was our vision. That's our vibe. And that's kind of what we want. And that's what we've put forth. So it's been, for us, it's been like so much fun. It's like enjoyable. Like tonight we're doing a little Grateful Dead night in Kensington, and there's like a couple hundred people here, and it's just fun as hell.
Wow. Now let me ask you this: so for a snowstorm where it's so cold and we're going to keep getting cold for a while, what would you suggest is the best drink for someone to get when it's this cold like this? Like, because again, maybe not a beer, but like, is it nice whiskey? What would work well for this?
The beer warms you up.
What?
Yeah. So this is another little funny story. So we're at, we do these weekly meetings, and we're like, Carrie, our like business manager, is like, we should do like a winter drink. And of course, like when we have these meetings, we're all drinking. And then so we're like, yes, let's do like a snowy drink. And then we got on to 7 other topics, and we never pulled the trigger on that, but we need to come up with something by Sunday.
Oh my God.
So we totally forgot. We were like, yeah, let's do like a snowy, warm drink. And then someone was like, yeah, let's get coffee and we'll add Baileys. But we never finalized any of that.
Never finalized it.
Gotcha.
We all have AD.
Obviously, a couple big games on Sunday as well. I imagine you guys will be showing them. Anything special planned for the hardy, brave souls who brave the elements and make it out to Baby Cat?
So we will definitely be passing out tons of free drinks.
Oh, that's
so
what
we
I'm
don't have
doing.
anything planned, but like we will make it worth their while.
Man, you
Make
guys
it
are
worth
nice.
their while. That's what I love to hear. Of course,
Yeah.
we always got to throw out the caveat:
Yes.
drink responsibly,
Yes.
be safe, heed the instructions from all the emergency
And we
workers.
may
Don't be driving and everything.
We may do a snowball fight in Kensington.
I
No
love that
way.
plan.
The guys put one thing.
You guys got
Yes,
a great spot for that too, right out there.
Right. I can ask one question here. So, if for people who are coming out for the whole day, what is your advice to them to be able to withstand a full day at the bar? How do you pace yourself the right way on a day like this?
Drink the Kolsch.
Drink the Kolsch.
Excellent advice.
That
Terry
is very
Redmond,
sage.
Baby Cat Brewery, thank you so much for spending some time with us. Stay warm, stay safe, have a blast, and if I'm lucky, fingers crossed, I do have a newborn at home, but I'll see you out there on Sunday.
Make it out. And Tony, wear the helmet if you're going to the snowball fight. You gotta
Gotta protect the
preserve
money,
that
man.
twinkle.
Maybe-
That's what you want.
Maybe that is Patriots helmet Sunday.
Terry, go request Friend of the Devil for me, all right?
Ooh, I like that.
Friend of the devil.
All right,
It is
have
on.
a
I
great
love it.
night.
See you guys.
We'll see you next
Thank you.
time.
Man,
All
good
right.
luck.
We're going to take another quick break, taking a live look at the Jefferson Memorial now
was
from our
great.
camera at the wharf. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the final 8 minutes
Yeah.
of the Live Zone
Well, 7.
Primetime here. Producer Chris, Tony P. It is a Fox 5 weather weekend,
Yes.
obviously. And listen, if you are going to be snowbound at home, obviously you can tune into nonstop Fox 5
Yep.
weather coverage.
I might be coming
but
into work.
You might be looking for some other options as well, and that's what we want to talk about now, because there are some new things to stream, and on Fridays, I love to kind of share some
I'm glad we're bringing this
options
back. This is
for
good.
what to watch. First and foremost, the 10th and final season of Queer Eye. We talked about this a little
Yes, the
earlier this
controversy.
week. There is a lot of controversy surrounding this, but what's interesting about it is it is also set right here in Washington, D.C. That's where they filmed the latest season, and since it's going to be a cold weekend, this might actually leave you feeling a little warm because they shot it during the summer in the peak of that heat and humidity. So that's one of your options. The other new option this week is a new Ryan Murphy, Evan Peters collaboration. Now, they have done all these seasons of
Yeah.
American Horror Story. They did that Dahmer series over on Netflix. This one's called The Beauty. It's a sci-fi body horror series based on the comic book of the same name. 11-episode series set in the deadly world, I should say, of high fashion. Here's what's interesting, though, too. Also stars Ashton Kutcher. We haven't seen a lot of him
Yeah,
lately,
like since 2.5 Men.
along with Anthony Ramos and Rebecca Hall. First episode streaming now on FX, Hulu, and Disney+. Prime Video has a show called Steel. This is a limited series drama. 5 episodes, stars Sophie Turner, who you know from Game of Thrones, follows the aftermath of a brutal heist at an investment firm and the impact it has on the employees involved.
Oh, wow. Okay, that might be one I would watch.
I don't want anyone changing the channel, but happening right now on Netflix, this actually got started at 8 o'clock, is Skyscraper Live. This is Alex Honnold trying to free solo a skyscraper in Taiwan live and without any safety ropes.
What?
All right, so take that.
Wait, like to what? Like meaning
He's
walk?
climbing it. He's climbing it. He's like a mountain climber. He's famous for free soloing El Capitan in Yosemite, which means he climbed it with no ropes, just his hands and feet.
And now a skyscraper.
And now he's climbing the exterior of a skyscraper. It's 101 stories.
Live
I
on-
believe. Live on Netflix.
And
It's
there's
gotten
no,
a lot
like-
of controversy because
Yeah.
why is the question. But that's happening right now.
And there's no if he falls, there's no safety thing
Nope.
like to catch him. No like movie.
Nothing.
Oh
Nothing.
boy.
Yeah, exactly. Sports
Wow.
front, we just mentioned this. We've got the NFC and AFC championship games this weekend. And then, of course, you can't forget streaming snow coverage beginning at 6 a.m. on Sunday right here on Fox 5. You know what? This is another good weekend to do, though, Tony.
What
P?
is it?
Catch up on the Oscar movies because obviously the
call.
nominations came out this week.
Yeah.
We talked about those. Sinners setting a new record, 16 nominations. Sinners is streaming on HBO Max. One Battle After Another. That's the second most nominated movie of the year. Paul Thomas Anderson, Leonardo DiCaprio, and many, many more. That's also streaming on HBO Max. Bugonia, which is one of those collaborations between Emma Stone and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. However, they've had a lot of successful Oscar-winning collaborations. Jesse Plemons, also in that. That's streaming on Peacock.
Wow.
There are a few other ones out there as well that are now available
Marty
to
Supreme.
stream. Marty Supreme. That one's in theaters. Song Sung Blue still in theaters,
Right,
but there
right.
are some other ones that you can find that are streaming as well. So now would be a good time to get caught up so that you're ready come Oscar night to
Exactly.
know
To
who
actually know what you think.
should win. Exactly.
And not just do what I do based off who I want to win an acting award. But I would say this: I wonder if the movie theaters will be open this weekend. They probably will be.
I mean, I
That
think
wouldn't be the
as
worst.
long as
I mean,
they can staff them.
Right. It wouldn't be the worst thing to do.
Yeah,
I mean, if
exactly.
you're close, you live in Georgetown. If you live in downtown like I do, you can get to a Regal
That's
theater
the
pretty
beauty.
quickly.
I think, a
Not the
lot,
worst
like
idea.
Terry was saying with Baby Cat, he's going to walk in. Obviously, we want everyone to stay safe. We want people to stay off the roads. That's what emergency officials are saying. Of
course.
But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be homebound.
No, it doesn't mean you can't walk somewhere, or you can, but just make
Exactly.
sure you're bundled up because it is going to be really
that
cold out there.
part
That wind
too.
chill is picking up.
No
baby.
joke, especially once that snow and mix of ice and everything stops. You saw Mike Thomas's forecast at the top of the hour.
Oh, yeah.
It is
It's-
going to be cold next week. But the good news is we're going to have you covered right here on Fox 5.
Sir.
And maybe, just maybe, we'll have Tony P out in the elements on Monday,
I
depending
can't
on how
wait.
it goes.
I'll say. I mean, listen. I've always wanted to be in the really windy winds or the whipping winds.
The
You know what? I wouldn't mind
winds.
being in the snow either. Going for a little roll. Call it a day.
All right, we're at the point of the show where we're just about 2 minutes left. Let's go through some of the comments that we have on YouTube. Jenny Lane saying, hi, everyone.
Hello.
Go players. Yeah, there was a little bit of an echo with our meteorologist from the National Weather Service. Thanks for pointing it out. We hadn't noticed. Also, let's see what we have. Kareem says oatmeal. Not sure what that means. Larry's a proud U.S. citizen. That's his name on YouTube. He
Okay.
is he's got a good gig going. You know why?
What's
Because he
his
says
gig?
it's kind of nice being retired and wintering out in Southeast Asia.
What?
So if you are watching
You're
us
watching
right now from
Southeast
Southeast
Asia?
Asia, how the hell did you find this
We're
show?
international.
First of all, and second of all, amazing.
Thank
yeah,
you.
We're international.
Thank you for
know,
joining
we're-
us. I mean, I got to say now, oatmeal. I know there's a random comment, but buy oatmeal for things like this. Good breakfast. It's hearty. It's usually at the stores because I just had my delivery happen. Most of
Yes,
them.
but
It's good. They usually have
you
oatmeals
also
there.
want to make sure you're stocked up on non-perishables.
Yes.
In case the power goes
Right.
out, you don't have the microwave or the
True, good point.
electric
Good
stove to
point.
be able to heat up that oatmeal. So
Right.
you can always build a fire and do it, but do that safely. We're not
Yeah.
encouraging any sort
Exactly.
of... You heard the experts. Take
Be safe.
all the correct precautions. Be safe. Tune in to us. We'll have
Yep.
complete coverage for you. Tony P, we did it again.
You ready?
made it
Another
through
week,
another
man. First week back,
First
buddy.
week
First week back, my
Thank you very-
friend.
Here, hang tight. All right, count me down. 45
Okay, ready?
seconds.
Okay,
I want to show you.
45,
I got
44. Oh, he's coming back. He's going to run.
I got
now,
a special.
folks, I got to tell you.
I got a gift. I got a gift. My first week back from
you
our
did?
Fox 5 General
way.
Manager Sue Deviney.
Come
And I want to
on.
show it off because it's just so damn adorable.
What did
Are you
she
ready?
get for you? Oh, come on. Yes. I love
The
that.
Fox local onesie for baby Harper. She'll
That
have to
is
grow
nice.
into it, all right? It's a little big for her right now. She's a tiny little peanut, but I love that she gets to represent, a place that means a lot to me. Obviously,
Of course,
I've been here
yes.
for more than a decade, and,
You
thank
can-
you,
and, dude, we're
everyone,
happy
for
to have you
welcoming me
back.
back. Tony P.
Uncle
have
Tony's
safe,
bringing a gift,
great
too, for you
weekend.
at some point.
We'll see you Monday. Stay tuned. Complete coverage coming up.